Greetings, and welcome to the Thirsty Mage, the podcast that has survived 5 years, 200 episodes, 2 console launches, a few server changes, and an ongoing pandemic to provide hours of RPG discussion. I'm your host, David Lloyd. In this episode, we are celebrating both our 5-year anniversary and our 200th episode by talking about the port of one of our favorite franchises in Persona 3 Portable. At the pub since the 10th episode, and probably present for about 175 after that, it's Jordan Rudick.
When I was teaching today, I took out one of my assignments, which is we're writing a summary of an article, and I looked at the date of the article, and it said 2013, and I'm like, how's it been a decade since I've been using one of these, using this article, or at least just kind of recognizing a date that was, now it's now been 10 years since this article was written, since this event took place. So yeah, definitely kind of one of those moments where you're thinking about the passage of time, and it's hard to believe that Mage has been going on for 5 years. It doesn't feel that long. It really doesn't. But 200 episodes. It's quite an accomplishment. So kudos to you, David.
I had to look at all, I didn't believe the dates when I went on. I was looking up some specific episode stuff, and I'm looking at the dates, and I'm like, no, that's not. That can't be right. I had to go back to notes, and I'm like, oh crap, it is right. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And debuting on the 61st episode, and this was, I couldn't believe, 3 full years ago. That
might be more surprising. That might be more surprising even.
And has a much easier last name for me to pronounce now. It's Paige Chamberlain.
And yet people have trouble spelling this one.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It's like an actual word.
Yeah. Well, when I was listening back to that, so I shared a clip from episode 61 where I clearly butchered your last name multiple times until Jordan had to say it right. And I was thinking back, I'm like, what was I thinking? And I'm like, oh, I was under the impression that the T was silent.
Yeah, so I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah.
just any other guests you have must live in fear.
Well, now it's been so long. Well, I guess we've had a couple guests lately, but I was just thinking, it's like the only way to avoid that thing is just a band guest.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the problem is we've had some good guests on lately too. Like Aiden came on to talk about his book, and his name Moher. It wasn't too hard to pronounce, so we were able to get that one off without a hitch. I was
going to say, one of the prerequisites of being a guest now is you have to have a name that I can easily guess on my own.
Yeah, five letters or fewer, please.
Yep, and no silent letters.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That was your slip up there. I was assuming there would be a silent letter tucked in there.
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking Swedish when Paige was clearly talking with an Australian accent.
Yes, exactly.
Well, how about you? Does it felt like 3 years to you, Paige?
Yeah, that makes sense.
She's like, it feels like 10 years with you.
Well, I don't know. Well, I know, when people talk about how old games are, and you're like, oh, so, when they talk about, a game that came out when I was a kid is 20 years old, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But it is whenever that's like something that came out since you finished school is 7 years old, I'm like, It's like, since I'm an adult, it's just old. I'm like, But yeah, I don't know. 3 years makes sense.
I mean, it's also been a very full 3 years for you, Paige. Not just full of episodes of the Thirsty Mage, but you've had so much going on in your life. Like, it has been a lot of change can happen in such a short time.
Yeah, so moved house a couple times, got married, had a baby.
Yeah, well, even yeah. Well, it's funny because when I announced where you were from and stuff, it's like you moved on from there, and you're at a new establishment now too for reviewing games and
yeah, it's been, I don't know how long I've been writing there, at least a year for that as well.
yeah
probably more.
So many anniversaries to celebrate. No, so little time.
Oh yeah,
and only about
2 years ago now. Place.
And about 500 game releases in those 3 years probably. Just RPGs.
And 600 this year.
Maybe more. Yeah, gosh. Every time Donald he periodically reminds our Slack chat about just how many releases have come to Switch, and I think you think about the releases coming to one platform, let alone 3 or 4 platforms, is just staggering. Every time I hear those numbers in the thousands, okay.
Well, after I got my Steam Deck, I thought, well, maybe I'll start keeping tabs on the Steam releases and see what's going on there. And then, like, after the first day, I'm like, no, I'm out. It's just it's ridiculous. Like, there's
I don't even know if I'm allowed to get a Steam Deck until I like finish half the games I put on my analog pocket. I feel like I have to use that a little more first.
I'll sell you mine.
Did you get your? You must have gotten yours by now, right?
Yeah, I got it. I got my massive impulse control.
Still in the box?
No, but I haven't really used it at all. And yeah, it costs almost as much as my car, so you know.
Oh man.
Oh well, what were you planning on? Did you have a plan of what you're going to use? Like, I could give you a bunch of recommendations.
I was expecting to get that and a review game for PC at the same time, but they were both late. So
okay.
And part of it was, I think, like if I didn't have the baby, I wouldn't have gotten it. But I thought, I barely use my computer at all now. I'm pretty much in the lounge room. But like, I still just prefer the Switch because it's both in TV and out of TV multiplayer.
I think that's one of my main use cases for a Steam Deck would be like checking out Steam demos, for example, or early preview codes of games, just to see if I want to review it or not, or see if someone at our site should review it. Like I get that impression that would be a very useful thing to do with the Steam Deck if I had one. Like just given that it's not like I need more games, but just like that would be a very convenient thing for me to have, like to know like, oh, okay, this game's really good. I'll make sure we ask for a Switch code for it. Just because you get Steam demos so often, early access and all that stuff comes to the platform. Like that would be really nice. But I don't know. I also don't know if I can justify the price of a Steam Deck just for that kind of preview opportunity.
I find it more comfortable to use. Like I went back. Oh, we played the Sea of Stars demo last week, and like using those, but it feels like I'm like it's like trying to pinprick the buttons, these little itty bitty buttons, and I'm like my fingers are like clutching this itty bitty switch. It feels like it's like so night and day. The feeling of using real controllers and real buttons.
Okay, I thought that was the Octopath demo was on Steam.
That was the thing. So I played the Sea of Stars demo on my Switch because that's the only place the demo is, and so I played like I guess it was like an hour and a bit on there, and then I switched to the Octopath demo on my Steam Deck, and it was so much more comfortable using the Steam Deck, like just way more comfortable.
Careful, stop! You better stop praising Octopath Traveler 2, or Casey's going to get upset.
Yeah.
Even if we're just talking about the demo.
That's all right. Well, a good thing for Casey, I can't afford to pick it up, so it's fine.
I'll buy 2 copies then. Keep them even.
Oh well, since you have a Steam Deck, I'm pretty sure there's a way I can share my game with you. Isn't there some kind of like sharing thing where I can like share my copy with yours or something like that?
You have to like log into both accounts and stuff. Yeah, I've got that with my husband.
Okay.
But plus, like on the Steam Deck itself, you can just play like I just clicked the enabling it, and you can.
Yeah,
that's a cool feature.
Play each other's games.
I did pre-order Octopath, Jordan. I needed those very useless items that come with the pre-order. Just
of course. Yeah. I'm curious, but I don't even know what GameStop is offering. I meant to look that up if it's like a Steelbook or something like that. I hope they're offering something. They've been
either them or Best Buy have the Steelbook, because I saw the Steelbook and I'm like, for freak's sakes.
Yeah, like if I can get it, I can get it. I would get it. Okay, here we go. It's on their front page here. Yeah. And usually
this part of my Steam Deck thing too is that I feel like now that we're getting near we have to be near the end of the Switch's life cycle, and there's no guarantee that there's going to be backwards compatibility. So now I'm like the Steam that I got Fallout 1 on there. That's like a 30-year-old game. Like for I know there's no physical copies, but I mean I could back up all the games onto a SD card or whatever too.
Oh yeah.
It just feels like the longevity of games is probably going to be more prevalent on Steam than it will be on a different platform.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But on the flip side, like I feel like you're getting companies more invested in just remastering, re-releasing games, doing collections. Like just think about this gen. We've seen so many collections and old games come forward that we thought were lost. Think about like Trials of Mana, for example, right? Like games like that are popping up, Live Alive. Like no one expected these games to ever show up again, let alone in the form that they're taking. So yeah, Steam is great for that kind of a little bit more curation and just access to older games. And there are other places on PC markets, good old games and stuff like that. But I think you're seeing companies just bring these games forward in different ways as a nice. It's not wholly for preservation or something, but it ends up maybe achieving that goal too, which is cool.
Yeah. I'm sure the majority of my admiration for my Steam Deck is because Square Enix has embraced the PC platform too. Like I'm like on Steam. I got all these Square Enix games on my wish list that I'm just waiting for the next sale, and I've already bought like every Final Fantasy on Steam now.
Yeah,
bought a great big SD card. Got 1 through 15 all loaded and ready to go.
I mean, and it makes a ton of sense, right? Why would you not just re-release your old games if you can do it in terms of like the technical aspect of it? Like, why would you not just have your old games available at all times on all platforms if you can, right? That just makes sense. Like that's a revenue stream that people like us who grew up with those games are going to be tapping into. And it might be that like newer gamers might want to just wait for remasters or re-releases and not go digging through those old games because they don't have the nostalgia for it, but for us, like, you love having just the idea of having those games on your Steam Deck, whether you play them or not. Like, you just feel like they're part of a collection,
Yeah. It's the golden bucket.
And that's it.
Yep.
Never ending one.
It's going to keep the coffers filled for Square Enix so they can keep making mobile games that die after a year.
Oh, please. Yeah. Or tease me with Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, make me lose bets, and then inevitably announce them like days after I lose the bet. Yeah, I still owe you that beer, and I have some ideas in mind. I'm just gonna get to the liquor store and figure out the logistics of getting it to you. But we will.
We'll have to figure out if it's breaking,
so to speak, or something soon enough.
We have to make sure that we're not breaking Canadian law by shipping alcohol across provincial borders.
That's right. Yeah. Or we just gotta hire like there's a name for that kind of person. Like you send them to do something illegal. I don't know what it is,
Smuggler?
But what'd you say, Paige?
Smuggler.
Yeah, like a smuggler. Like I think there might be a name specifically for someone who smuggles like alcohol, but I don't know, like a bootlegger. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Just a special courier.
That's it. Yeah, give him a tip.
Uber Eats.
Courier.
Yeah, Uber Eats. Gosh, if I could save the delivery fees with my membership pass, I will do it. But otherwise.
Well, I guess we should get to the topic of our 200th episode, which is Persona 3 Portable. And just to let everyone know up front, I'm near the end of the game, but I haven't finished it yet, so I couldn't spoil it even if I wanted to. So I don't feel like there's going to be any spoilers. Like, we might talk about story stuff that's pretty common knowledge. It's a pretty old game too, but just to let everyone know, we're not going to be like talking about the ending or nothing. So. Don't be afraid. Don't tune the channel or anything. You don't have to wait until you finish the game to listen. It'll be all right. It'll be good to listen to. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. I was thinking about Persona 3 and how I was going to come across when we were talking about it, because it feels like one of those games where it's all about what kind of personality you are. It's is the glass half full or half empty? Is it a weaker Persona game, or is it an above average video game? It's one of those things, with all how you look at it.
So
go ahead, bitch.
Was this your first time? Like, what's the first experience of Persona 3? Is this it, or? Pretty
much. Like I did load a ROM onto my Steam Deck. Deleted it before 24 hours, of course. Good. But I did play about an hour of it or 2 hours of it, and then got distracted by some other shiny game and then never got back to it. So I would say this is my first real experience of it. And if I ever heard of spoilers or what happened in the game, they completely left my mind, because I'm pretty much going in blank slate, had no idea what was going on. So yeah, like my first initial reaction to it is like, oh, this kind of feels like Persona Light. Like I see where the DNA of a lot of stuff that I liked in Persona 4 and Persona 5 came from, but it all seems kind of surface level, I guess would probably be the way to put it.
I don't see that at all, because I went straight from Persona 5 to Persona 3, and I was like, oh, so much of this is the same. Like the combat system, like, I mean, not counting, like, obviously Persona 5 Royal came out and there was like a bunch more stuff they added, but I was surprised that the like the weakness and then the one more and all that attack and all that stuff, it was like even from Persona 3 onwards. Yeah, so to me I was like, oh, this is like not that much different. Obviously it's more, I think, especially because it's a Persona 3 portable version, so there's some differences in that, like you don't see the characters standing in the backgrounds, and like they took out the actual cutscenes and stuff. So like there's definitely some visual differences.
No walking around was it? That's a big change.
Yeah, yeah. But that's like this specific version as well, not just.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I was surprised how much it didn't feel like a downgrade, other than the like we'll talk about Tartarus, that's a randomly generated thing, but that was the same for 4. It's like 5 was the first one where it was like, this is specifically designed area.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like Persona Light, right? Like it feels like just a subdued version, a lighter version of what people came to expect from Persona 4 and 5. I think that is a little bit of its charm too. That they chose Persona 3 Portable for a reason, as opposed to the base game or Fez. I don't really have experience with those two. I know that the differences are noticeable. I think, especially with we're talking about the visuals, the way that it looks, the presentation, like all of that is different. But it's still pretty snappy, right?
Yeah, the main differences, like the original Persona 3 was just the male character, and you'd see like they'd be walking around a cutscene and stuff, but you couldn't control your other party members, which I cannot imagine.
Oh, frustrating!
A game like this and not being able to control. Like, there's no way. Whereas Persona 3 Portable added that. Plus, you could play as a female character, which changes the UI, it changes the songs, it changes a few aspects of the story. Obviously, adds new social links, so you've got different friends that you can make. And then Fez is pretty much like the normal Persona 3, but they added like a post-game section that apparently is kind of contentious with whether people like it or not.
Yeah, that's called The Answer. Is that right? I think I've heard of that, but I don't know the details of it. But yeah.
Well, and I guess Persona 3 Portable is I read that it's about 20 hours shorter than Fez too, because when you cut out like the walking around.
Yeah, when you make everything point and click, and you don't have like cutscenes quite the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's probably less loading too and stuff, like because I'm sure. I would assume it's PlayStation 2 would have been Fez.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure there would have been some nasty loading times on playing that one.
And people have to remember, right? This is originally a PSP game, right? Not a Vita game. So it is further back than something like Persona 4 Golden, and obviously much, much further back than Persona 5 Royal. So to see where we've come, and to see like, if you think about the context of this game when it came out, like I think it is still pretty impressive for like the story it tells, the options that it has. The combat is still like Paige was saying, like it feels very similar to the games that would come after, and it is kind of hard to believe that some things like the press turn system, where you hit a weakness and you get an extra turn, and the all out attacks did originate there, and I think that's what makes the game still playable today, is that the combat hasn't changed that much.
And I think I played this. I didn't finish it, but I got like up to the last month of the game, and then I looked up how many floors and Tartarus were left, and I was like, put it down for a few years. But I do keep meaning to finish it.
Is it more than 160?
Yes.
Well, I am up to floor 279. So.
Oh my god! I got to floor 160 today, or no, it was I think 160 is the where the latest out teleporter is for me, and then I could go up like another 5 or 6 or something, and then it was like you're at the top, and I'm like, oh, I'm at the top. That's interesting.
That's like it's not until like the next moon or whatever, and then there's more suddenly.
Yeah, they kind of like another layer kind of opens up or stacks on top. So
yeah, but
got my hopes up.
I was also surprised. I was like, oh, it doesn't look that bad either, because obviously I think it looks worse than the original, but I don't have the original for comparison. But I was like, the character models look sort of like PS1-ish because they've got sort of a simplified, pixely on the outside look to them that I thought was cute.
I think in HD it looks funny. Like I think it's like kind of entertaining. They almost look like papercraft characters or something like that.
Yeah.
In the 3D segments, anyways.
Well, it's funny listening to the producers talk about it too, because they, I know that there's been a lot of like, why didn't they kind of blend the good things from Fez with the good things from P3P?
That would be a whole remake,
Yeah, well, and that's they were talking to two of the producers. I think there was like one of the producers and the director, and they were talking about like how difficult it was just to up-res P3P, because I guess they had to go back and redo a lot of the art, and they just they just saying it was tough. And I guess it's one of those
you're remastering or remaking a PSP game. You think about like that UMD media was so unique too. Like going back to that could have been an easy task.
Crisis Core?
True, yeah. But look how long it took for them to do Crisis Core, right? Like another thing that just took forever and ever. And that I think that had licensing issues too, right? With or at least that was the rumor of one of the characters or the voices.
Crisis Core is like rebuilt from the ground up too. Like,
that's right. Yeah.
Was it completely there? Because they didn't change the animations as far as some people knew.
I think there were some cutscenes that they left in, but I think
cutscenes.
Like there's a few things I think they had to keep the way it was, but I think for the most part, like I think most of the game is rebuilt. Like I looked at some videos of like the old one versus the new one, and it looks way better. Like it. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they were waiting for FF7 Remake to come out to provide that opportunity, right? And it obviously made sense for those games to kind of be in the same style visually. Given that you want people to play them kind of side by side like that. So.
Good bridge between Remake and Rebirth.
100%, yeah.
So in Persona 3, like both stories, the main story is you're once again a transfer student.
Yeah.
And then we have, what hour is it called? The dark hour? Or?
The dark hour, yeah.
Okay, it is called that. Okay. So like from midnight, there's an extra hour, and normal people just turn into coffins or shadows roam around. But if you've got a persona, you can see all this weird stuff going on. And the school turns into Tartarus, which is the dungeon in this game is just one big giant dungeon. And like I said, once like at the end of every full moon, there's a boss fight. You beat the boss, then you've unlocked more of the dungeon, basically.
Yeah.
And it just has a different skin on it. I really liked there was one floor where it looks very HR floor, like block that looks very HR Geiger like. I forget which one it was called though.
I think it's just like block 1, 2, 3, 4. I think.
They have names, but yeah.
Oh, do they? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't remember them though.
No, it's all very kind of nondescript. Like they've made different colors, different patterns, and they have that different name. But to me, like. It's just what number am I on? I'm on Strata 1 or Strata 2, and then floor 80, floor 120, whatever. Yeah. Like it's just as soon as you get into a place where there's more than 100 floors, I'm really just thinking about the numbers at that point.
Yeah, well,
very similar to Mementos, really.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in the game, it's like you have to go up so many floors to access a teleporter to be able to come back to your safe room, basically.
Yeah,
you can save and pay money to heal. But I think eventually, or maybe it's through Figure's, like your Navigator's social link, I can just zip out at any point now.
Oh, yes, that's right, yeah.
Which is very useful, because it used to be like, I think every 10 floor, like, I'd have to try and get every 10 floors. So I really liked, because it's random, sometimes the stairs are literally right next to you when you live up the floor.
Yes, that's right.
And that happened several times in a row for me, and I was like, yeah.
That's convenient, yeah.
If I need to fight, I'll come back later. I'm just going to get to my teleport pad first,
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm kind of curious how you guys went about grinding in the game. Like, did you do it all at once? Did you do it kind of just periodically as you went? But like I would do it like I'd go to the dungeon, I would do all my grinding all at once, and I would try to finish the dungeon in one go if I could. At least go as far as I could, and then come back home. But I don't know if you guys did the same.
I think I would take 1 to 2 days. I never really found the fatigue fish system to be a problem because it's like if you spend
Same.
if you spend a lot of time in there, the next few days, like if you like going back again, you'd be weaker. And I'm like, okay, well, I just won't go for a few days. Like I'll just feel better.
You can just buy some Yawn Be Gone.
That's right. That's right. So you don't want to get sick, right?
I think I did most. I might have gone like because there's mini bosses there, so I might have like gone to at least one mini boss before. But there are people that get like trapped in Tartarus, so I would follow the guide, like not like a full guide, but I'd look up certain like what date are people kidnapped. So then I would wait till most or everyone has been kidnapped, and then I would go through the whole thing. So I'm not coming back and wasting an entire day. Could have been doing something else, basically.
Yeah. No, I tried to do the same. I tried, I used a guide here and there just because I was trying to get through the game for review. Even though we had a long lead time, like it's just such a long game, anyways.
Using the old Game Facts forum post.
Oh yeah, it's thank goodness those things still exist. Like they're so helpful still. Like I love Game Facts, but yeah, no, I had a really good time going through the dungeons and just kind of like zoning out a little bit, putting on a podcast or some music and just grinding. The battle system, it's so, it's still so snappy. It works so well. David, you were complaining a little bit in our Slack chat, I think, about just how the way you get personas or you add demons to your team, like it's just not as complicated, right? You don't actually have to talk to them in this game like you would eventually have to do.
Shuffle time.
You just draw them, right? You draw them from a deck of cards, pretty much, right? And shuffle time is so easy; you can kind of just pick whatever you want every time, right? So
it's definitely easier because, but I've played so many SMTs lately that now that I can't negotiate, I miss it, and I also miss the humor.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look it up later, but I remember watching a video about one of the smaller Elder Scrolls games, and I think they had some kind of negotiation thing as well.
Thing. I can see that.
Yeah, so I was like, I gotta find out which one it is, but I was like, oh, that sounds like the SMG game.
Yeah. Well, the other kind of beef I had, I guess, would be that I found that you got Tartarus, and I guess to answer your question too, back to Jordan, I'm kind of a combination of you and Paige, where I'll immediately try to get to the point where you're blocked from going up anymore, where you get to the barrier and until you have to fight the demon on the new moon. And then what I'll do is I won't go into Tartarus again until someone gets kidnapped, and then I go in that day and get them out, and then I'll just wait for the new moon. So I try to do it in one shot as much as I can.
One other thing that's interesting is that the boss fights are at the certain time each month, so it's like you've got to you've got to do it. But they're not, like, there are bosses in Tartarus, but they're not the same. Like, they're not the monthly boss. The bosses are elsewhere. Like, the first one's on a train. The other one's got, like, a whole little segment where you're going through some rooms and stuff before you get to it.
I found those mini bosses in Tartarus harder than the actual bosses on the new moons.
Maybe.
Yeah, that happened to me on occasion too. They might just have like a particular resistance or something that really trips you up because your team isn't necessarily built to take them down, right?
I've managed to get through the entire game so far without a guide, except for one instance. I was getting just wrecked by the Hell Knights. There's 3 Hell Knights. And I'm like, how am I supposed to defeat these guys? Like, they're just tearing me. And then I went in, like, they're electric types. So I'm thinking, like, okay, I'll go in with a persona that has an Alta electric. And then Akihiko has an Alta electric. So I'm like, okay, these guys won't be able to do, maybe they'll hit me with some piercing and I'll just heal myself or whatever. But then they use elect break and then I'm I get just completely trashed, and I'm like, I have no idea. So then I saw on a forum somewhere that someone's like, oh, you should get the succubus and just charm them, and I did that, and it was like a cakewalk. I'm like, okay.
I have to admit, I did not use Akihiko or Mitsuru at all, even though they're apparently pretty strong party members.
Yeah, I used them quite a bit actually. Even Junpei early in the game, like his attack power is pretty strong until you get
I
Aegis, right?
I do have to remember to not put Igus and Yukari on at the same time though, because they're both weak to the same thing. So you
Mhm.
like you're screwed as soon as they hit the weakness.
Something I'd forgotten about was that Aegis has that special mode you can put her in that she kind of auto attacks, but it does extra damage, and then she has to cool down. Did you guys use that at all? Like I tried it out a little bit, but then I found the cooldown was a little bit too
I
much of a
keep forgetting
detriment.
to use it.
Yeah.
So,
It's really strong, but I mean, you
yeah.
also lose control over her, and then the cooldown takes her out for a couple turns, and it doesn't feel necessarily worth it unless you're gonna like blitz the enemy and take them down
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
The best thing about combat is Yukari saying "I won't miss" and then missing.
Missing every
Yeah.
time. Oh god,
Yeah.
she missed for me more
She
than
was
anybody
really
else for
bad at the
sure.
start of the game. I
Yeah,
think she
yeah.
got better, but like,
I think the other thing that surprised me is that the bosses or even the mini bosses, like the fights seem pretty basic though. Like
Mm.
I'm mostly, so when I'm just doing like normal grinding or fighting, like you're always using some kind of element to hit the weakness to do the all out attack. But when it's a boss, like I'm finding that all I'm doing really is physical attacks. Like I'm just doing basically just wearing down the enemy. Now, like I don't, none of the bosses really have any elemental weaknesses. So I mean, I guess I could be using the magic, but I just find that the physical attacks have always been stronger, and then it leaves my SP to be used on healing anyway. Or it's funny in this game, like in Persona 4 and 5, I never really used any of the where you like weakness in the defense or the attack or whatever, and I'm finding I'm using it way more in against bosses in this game.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's exactly how I would take bosses down too. Is like I'm using a lot of the either party wide or single target buffs and debuffs, right? Like I think that's a huge
Yeah.
part of this game. Is that's how you make enemies more manageable, or even just manageable at all. Like that, you might be able to do very little damage until you've like buffed yourself with the, maybe improved your physical attack, and then or just your attack in general, and then put down their defense, and then you can actually deal some damage. And that's not necessarily just physical. Like if you have a good magic user on your team, or a strong persona with a high magic skill, for example, and you still do that same buff and debuff strategy, you can deal a ton of damage through some of the higher level spells too.
Mm-hmm. So what's everyone's opinion on the characters? Like I find that I like a lot of the characters, but the thing with the social links in this game is I find that the storylines behind it, I don't find the same emotional connection. Like I guess in like Persona 4 and Persona 5, the main character or the main protagonist, I found like the world kind of revolved around that character. Like
Mm-hmm.
all the characters kind of like interacted with this character, and everything they did kind of revolved around the actions of this person. There was that much bigger connection, and I find in Persona 3, I'm part of a team, but I don't seem that important. Like
Yeah,
I just
right.
I'm just kind of there, like hanging out with people, and so I've maxed out like 5 or 6 people, but I didn't feel like what I did with them was all that important. It just seemed like, oh, this thing happened, and now we're best buddies. We've got a unbreakable bond.
did you make friends with anyone outside of the party members? So
Yeah, so the first person I maxed out actually was Chihiro. So,
Yeah.
So it was funny to see her. I think it was like level when I got to like level 8 or 9 or something. I guess like the whole thing around her was that so she's the treasurer, and she gets accused of stealing money, and then Mitsuru is like, oh, we'll figure this out together back at the dorm. I'll come to your room, and then she like freaks out, and that's like her maxing out is like her figuring out that she doesn't want me to be in the same bedroom as another female. So and then it was like, that's it, we're good. You don't see her again for the rest of the game. It's so I don't know.
did both of you play as the male character then?
I did female for mine, female main character.
I did male for mine just because the game said if you've never played this before, do the male one first.
That's because there's like some minor, like tiny minus changes to the story if you play as the female, such as Junpei friend zoning you. So
Oh gosh, yeah, shouldn't they?
It's really funny how they do it too, because basically, I think it's that much worse to say that Junpei gets a girlfriend, which is why, as the female character, you can't romance him. But it's really funny because he'll be like wanting to hang out with you all the time, and then he'll just hit a point, like a certain date, and he won't want to hang out.
Yeah,
So, like,
he just
over
stops being an option to socialize with at
like
all.
over a month before he like meets the girl, and then he'll hang out again after that. And it's just really funny too, because he's the kind of character that keeps whining about wanting a girlfriend and stuff, and you're like,
right here.
yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of a funny shift that happens in the game, and I hadn't clued into that initially. Like, why can't I just socialize with him? Oh, right, because he's got someone else on his mind. I suppose that makes some sense. Who did you like, Paige? Like, who in the female main character route? What kind of social links did you get into?
So I went with like some of the ones that go away after a while, like the two people at the park, like the kid and the guy.
Yep,
those are probably my favorite ones. And I think I'm close to max out with the old couple.
Yeah.
I think I'm not really high with her. I think, but I like the tennis club, because I think you have different clubs depending on your gender. But the tennis club girl, I like her. Yeah. One thing that was super annoying is like on your days off, you'll get a phone call and like, do you want to hang out? And you're like, nah, and then it'll be a different phone call from someone else. So like you're rejecting and not knowing whether or not the other person's going to want to hang out or not.
I mean, hey, that's real life, right? Like you on a Sunday, you're in high school, elementary school, whatever. You're waiting by the phone. Like, is someone better going to come along? Is someone better going to call me? Is there a better option going to show up? As as kind of selfish as it is, I think that does a good job of encapsulating a reality for people, right? It's something that people have experienced before.
That's one thing the Persona 5 has. You just don't respond because it's text messages, not phone calls.
That's right. Yeah. They figured out a way around it. Thank you, technology. We appreciate you.
Again, following reality.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Yukari and Mitsuru social links get really good by the end. I think those are actually those might be my two favorite ones. I did most of the ones in the party. I think I didn't really romance anyone. I think I did end up kind of romancing, I guess, in my female main character playthrough. She got very attached, and so I just went ahead with that one. And yeah, I there were only a couple social links at all that I didn't max. I was pretty close through the whole game there. But yeah, I think Yukari's and Mitsuru stand out to me. Just like they have I think a good emotional payoff at the end. And they felt the most memorable. I don't want to spoil them, but I think if you are playing the game as either character, you probably want to go through those two.
Did you guys watch so I guess in the dorm everything is being recorded?
Yeah,
and there's a machine that you can go and you can watch like all these recordings of people doing things in the dorm, and I think that's like of all the social things that you could do, that was the most hilarious to me.
You should look it up on YouTube then, because I'm pretty sure in like the PS2 versions of the games, those scenes are animated.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to, because they were hilarious. I like the one where there's one where like your character is sleeping in the bed, and I guess walks in to like make sure you're okay. Like, temperature is good, breathing's good. I don't know if I need to get that pillow from the freezer. Maybe I'll just not worry about it. And then it's like, well, Yukari said I can't stay in here, so I should probably go. And then she's like, well, I could stay here a few more hours.
That's right. Yeah.
The best party member is Koromaru.
Yeah.
See, we have a cute dog that's a Persona user, and unlike Teddy or Morgana, he keeps his mouth shut.
Well, he does rat out. He rats out Shinjiro when he's watching like the cooking shows.
Yes,
that's right. Yes. Very good boy.
There's one because I like loaded up the game and went into like combat just to try and remember if things were the same. One thing I don't think I really ever used was the split up mechanic.
Yeah, no, neither did I. I understand its purpose, but like, unless you're like replaying like the really lower level dungeons, I don't know why you would grind for experience that way.
They get into fights and then I'd have to come bail them out. And I'm like, again,
that's right.
For frig's sakes.
One thing I liked was that some of the outfit pieces, like 'cause, your accessories in the games would usually show, but like I found like some bikini armor, and that actively showed on the character.
It's expensive. It's like
Yeah.
100,000 yen.
I don't know
It's
if
actually kind of
saw that
awkward to look at, I think. Some of the designs,
Um,
like, it just doesn't look good.
It's funny though, because like you can talk to your party members while you're in the dungeon, and they'll actually say something when you're
Yeah,
wearing
they'll make
that.
a comment.
Yeah. But my favorite is having the hockey stick.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, David, come on. You got to be all over that, right?
I
That
haven't
was
seen
a
who
great
has the
weapon.
hockey stick.
Oh, does a female character have a different weapon? Because she has like a
Oh, maybe.
naginata or something, and then like it's a hockey stick and like with one of the skins.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was. I haven't come across the hockey. I saw the bikini armor, but
Yeah.
it was so expensive, and I didn't even have the money for it, so I couldn't get it.
Yeah. So what weapon does the main male character use in battle?
He just uses a sword.
Yeah. See, that's why, because like the female uses a big naginata, I think. So then they make it a hockey stick for one of the skins, basically, like a different weapon.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that'd be why see. You need to play as the girl because you get a hockey stick, you get a pink UI, you get completely different songs,
Oh, gee.
minor story changes.
Yeah.
Ignore
I
the
just like
fact-
the look of her. I think the character art when like the just the in the bottom right corner or bottom left corner where you see the characters they're talking, interacting. I think that her character art is quite good too. Actually, I think character arts for all of them is quite good. It's
just
a pretty
ignore
looking
the
game.
part where she can date the 10-year-old and we're fine.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
I think they did
Just
mod
never
that
put them in
out.
your party. And
No, someone made a mod for it out, but like
Okay. So it's not
no,
official.
you can still, as far as I'm aware, you can still do it in this like the port version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw.
Which actually something I saw on YouTube is like, yeah, if you've like gotten a romantic relationship with the child and Akihiko as well, and you talk to like them and Junpei and Tadaris, you start like this big argument.
Oh, that's funny.
And Junpei's just like, I don't want to be here. So I saw that on the on a video, and I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, yeah, what little things you could do that they added to making party talk conversations about.
it's funny. Some of that stuff is so easy to miss too. Like unless you see it like online or like a friend tells you about it, or you just come across it randomly. Like it's just easy to miss little details, little snippets like that.
I know the battle music, the female one, triggers my husband because I started playing when I was still living at my nan's, and I'm playing it on the TV while he's hanging out trying to sleep, and it's going like dun, 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 like at the start of the song every time. And I think he got sick of it. But
Yeah, I haven't found like I don't like this OST as much as like Persona 4 and Persona 5 I actually like listen to at work while I'm while I'm working. Like I have YouTube up and I'll be listening to it throughout the day. But this one, it's like it's okay, but
well, there
I don't know.
is a different soundtrack for the female character, so you should look it up
Yeah.
to see the I
Well,
know at
even-
least the battle song and the hanging around town song is different.
Yeah, the hanging around the school one is it changed halfway through at some point, I don't know when, but like halfway through the game, the music changed while I'm at school, and it's this it's I don't even know, it's like these people singing and it's like hey, and it's like shut up. Like I can't
Yeah.
I can't, it's too much, like because it's like on repeat and it's so weird. I don't know.
And then because I said I went from 5 to 3, so like I know it's the same sort of enemies in 4, like the shadows, where it's just like the guys with masks on. I did like noticing that the masks determine like their element, so when I figured that out, I could like learn what they're weak to without having to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That's good.
It's like I partially use like mini guides and like for specific things, or be like how many floors are in here, so I have an idea. But I didn't, follow an entire walkthrough. So I thought that was neat. I do like the Persona 5 uses the demon designs and stuff, but for a couple games it's fine.
How much Persona fusing did you guys do in this game? I found like just the availability of Persona, just doing the card game, and it's so easy to get new ones or to buy the old ones back, and then just to fuse. Like I found myself doing a ton of fusion. I always had like a full party of Persona, and just regularly fusing them like mid dungeon. After I went out of the dungeon, I'd do more fusing. I did a lot of it. I had tons of money throughout the whole game. And so I really kind of went down like filling out the compendium, not even intentionally doing it. I was just like wanting to get new ones and wanting to have the strongest ones in my party. So I did a lot of demon fusing, persona fusing in this game that I don't do as much of in the other games. I'm going to stick with some of the same ones or maybe get attached to them. But did you guys do a fair bit of fusing here or what?
That part I can't really remember much, but I like looked at my team and I'm like, well, I don't recognize any of these people pretty much. I know first thing I did, like I got Black Frost as soon as I could, and he's carried me through most of the game.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I had these other guys, and I'm like, I don't know if I fused. I think I might have made a few because my personas were all like really low level. I found I had Alice when I was just mucking around earlier today, and she has a unique attack called Die For Me, and that has a cool animation because it's like an insta kill.
It's cool to fuse some of the special ones too. Like when you get to a max persona rank, right? Like you unlock like a new special persona that I think it takes like 4 or 5 or 6 different demons to fuse together to make it. But I rarely ever use any of those special ones. Like not just because I don't have the ability through finishing the social link, but I just never really had the wherewithal. But here I guess because I was just doing more fusing, I had more people in stock, I had more of the prerequisites, and so I ended up fusing like I think Thor Odin was one. I found him pretty powerful, and I had a couple other special ones as well near the end of the game, so kind of carried me through.
Definitely find it easier to fuse in this one. Like it's like you said, the amount of money, especially if you're going through the dungeon quite a bit, like you could just pick up like 50,000 yen or 60,000 yen just out of like a briefcase here and there. So you can easily get a lot of money pretty quick. And then the other thing is like you get so many weapons. Like I would sometimes just choose the weapons in the shuffle just so that I could sell them to the cop and
yeah,
get tons
same
of
here.
money.
You get a lot of money there too. I did you do a lot of the working in town? Like I did the jobs really often early to build up my stats, my character stats like courage and charm. And academics, right? Like you do.
I was
that,
at the cafe like every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I just went to the cafe,
and then you do it more, and you get more. You get a raise, right? You get a raise, and you're earning like 7,000 a night. Plus your stats are going up. Like it's just hard to resist that. But
I was max charm so quick. Like I think
too.
I was at like 2 for the other 2, but I would max out my charm already. I didn't even realize I didn't know the karaoke bar was there for the longest time.
Yeah, hitting up the stairs.
I know we're not going too much into the story, but one of the things I found interesting was that we had an opposing group of people that use personas. It's like, I think,
that's true.
in other games, it's sort of like maybe one person, maybe, or not at all for the majority of the game, majority of the game, like that doesn't happen. You're not fight. And like someone else pointed out, it's very, in this one, they went with like, your personas can hurt you in this, which they haven't really touched on in the other games, and saying that the persona is sort of like hurting you is like a symptom of like mental issues and things, because obviously personas like you're like when you realize yourself. So yeah, if you're obviously having struggles, then that's causing conflict. And it was like I don't think I cared too much for like actually dealing with them, but it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, for sure. There was the one scene where like someone was being choked and everyone was like, what's going on? And only one person knew what was actually happening, and because the persona was like invisible, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting concept to think of, like, because the persona represents like your inner self, and so someone who's harming themselves, that would make sense. But yeah, they don't really get into that later on, for sure. They're more like under control or whatever. But
it fits in with the darker tone of the game too, right? Like this game is particularly dark. I think more so than the other two, right? Like
I still remember when it first came out, all of the hubbub about the characters like shooting themselves in the head with a gun. It's like teenagers. Well, I remember it on the news. Like it was almost like the satanic panic or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely an action that can be triggering for people, right? Like no pun intended. Like that is something, like, to see that, like, if that, it is one of those kind of pictures in your mind. Like if you had ever witnessed that in person or have any kind of like attachment to that kind of moment or memory, like that's going to be really it could still be traumatizing for you, right? So I can see why they would make a big deal of that, but it does fit with the darkness of the game. Like you are literally killing you're doing the action, almost mock killing yourself to bring out another part of you, you know.
Someone needs to teach Yukari how to hold a gun though.
Oh yes, yeah. Teach her a lot of things.
Twists her hands around and points it at her face. It's the funniest thing ever. Well, especially because the start of the game is like she's trying to shoot herself, and you're like, "What the?"
Yeah. Well, the first time I saw Ken do it, I've the little thing in my stomach.
Yeah, that's particularly jarring, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Does Korimari just bark or like? I forget how he.
I think he just like howls, right? Like he just kind of howls up at the moon, and then that does it.
Well,
so.
I just loved how he had the knife in his.
Yeah, that's great.
I just love when there's a dog with a knife.
I just wish he was more useful as a character. Like his moves aren't. I don't think his moves are particularly good. Like I think, just his overall kit, not great compared to some of the other options that you have at that point. So. I tried making him part of the team. It just couldn't stick.
There's a couple bosses that he was useful against because he had a null on fire. So
yeah, sure, okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, I like to a family can be a little boy, a dog, and a robot.
Yeah,
yeah.
All living in a college dorm or a high schooler's dorm, right? Like,
yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't finish the game, but I definitely really like it. And like I said, I was surprised by how similar it was. Like it didn't feel like as much of a downgrade as I would expect, being like two early games, much older. Yeah.
No, that's the thing with it is like if you played 4 or 5, I think it's really easy to play 3 because it's all like it's very familiar. Like you know exactly what you're doing. Like there's no. You don't need to really like look at too many things. Like you already know all the basics. It's like, okay, there's going to be people that I have to build social links with. There's, I'm going to have to build my own, courage and academics. And, you have those rankings that you have to build up by doing like studying and then it has like the school exams. So you have to get the questions right at school and, you have to work on, and then with the dungeons, like there's going to be bosses where you fight the bosses and you go up the dungeon, and it has kind of that light. I still think it's light in the Shin Megami Tensei, like where you're not negotiating with demons, but you still have like the different elemental things. And it was funny with the slash, like even the physicals has their own elements with like slash, pierce, and slash, pierce.
Strike, is it?
Strike, that's it. Yeah. So it's very easy to get into it. Like I didn't find. I think maybe the first hour or so is a bit slow. Like I think once you get past that kind of couple hour mark, it starts to feel like a regular Persona.
I mean, Persona 4, the opening's even slower. I would argue, So at least it's not as bad as that. But I do think it, wherever you're coming into it, I think it can help you appreciate 4 and 5. Like I enjoyed this game. I'm glad that of the two, I kind of had a choice which one I was going to review, P3P or P4G. And I'm glad that I took this one just because I know I'm going to be playing Persona 4 Golden again soon. I know that, at some point I'll probably play Royal. I still haven't played Persona 5 Royal. And then I wouldn't be shocked if we got a Persona 6 announcement this year. Like I think Atlas sometimes likes to announce those games. It's gonna take forever to come out, right? But they are notorious for announcing early. So
yeah, like you were saying, because like with the Shin Megami Tensei 5 thing, that was teased at the Nintendo Switch reveal.
Exactly. Yeah, we're overdue for a Persona 6 announcement.
Years later, they said they finally started production on it.
That's right.
So they teased that game, and they hadn't even started it until.
And I think it's sold well enough. And I think Persona 6, no matter when you announce that, it's still going to sell. Really, the question just now is what consoles is that game going to come to?
Yeah.
Like, are they going to, is it going to be multi-cloud? Or really, is Sony going to pay to have it only come to PS5? Like that's or PS6.
Probably like PlayStation and PC for start.
I could see it. I could see that if depending on the release, I could see it coming to whatever the Switch successor is, but I don't think it would come to Xbox day and date.
Which gap will be longer? The gap between Final Fantasy 13 and 15, or the gap between Persona 5 and 6?
Oh man, it's close. It's really close. I don't know. Yeah, Persona 6. Like, I don't think that. I wouldn't say that's coming next year. If I had to guess, I don't think it's next year. I think it's still a little bit. It's still a long.
What's
time
it? 7 years now since the original release
of Persona 5.
Yeah.
Was it 2017, 2018?
Wasn't the Japanese 20? I thought the Japanese was 2016.
Yes. You might be right. Yeah.
And then the English was 2017 because I'm pretty sure it came out the same year as the Switch.
Yeah, it was that year where just everything was so good. There were so many good games that year. Oh, that was the year of dreams.
So someone who's brand new to the Persona franchise, hasn't played one, would you say start with 3, or
if they're like interested in playing more than one game? If they only want one, then you say like, go play 5 Royal. But if they want to play more, maybe it'd be better off starting with the one that's more simpler, so you don't necessarily like. I mean, I didn't have a problem going back down, but other people might, Yeah, especially with all the extra stuff that got added in Royal.
It's a really good question, like where to start with the Persona, like the modern Persona games, now that they're all kind of more widely available. I think P3P is a good place to start, actually. If you like RPGs, you like kind of dungeon crawlers like this, you're gonna get into it, and then it'll be like, oh yeah, I really like this. Let's play the next one. Like play them in order. But Paige is right. Like if you're only gonna play one, you probably just play the best one. And if it really, really strikes you and you're like, oh, I love what Persona as a series is doing, I'll go back and play the others. But
that's basically how it works. I played Persona 5 and I was like, I want more. So I went to play Tokyo Mirage Sessions and I was like,
How dare you?
And then I went, and then I was like,
that battle system
I can buy Persona 3 Portable on my Vita TV, which costs more than it is now available for.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I can never say that name properly. Like the Mirage and Sessions, like just that they kind of blend together those middle sounds. TMS. TMS reminds me a lot of, at least when people talk about TMS, or the way I kind of see what's good about it, it reminds me of Octopath. Like it had really killer battle system, awesome soundtrack, but the story and kind of the character interaction might fall flat.
I'm sorry. Are you talking up TMS?
Oh yeah, I like TMS. I like TMS. Like I'm really.
I know, but then you compared it to a game that's not good, so that's why
compared it to a game that I also love. Right? Like I love both of them.
I see now.
I'm
just revealing my taste again here.
SMT5 had the same kind of UI style, like the
the
bubble, and I was like, oh.
Now,
Jordan, you said play the best Persona, but you didn't say which Persona.
I mean. Yeah, I know. I think Persona 5 Royal probably is the best one. Like I haven't played Royal yet. Played Persona 5. I think it's just.
Yeah, I know you really like 4, so I wasn't.
I think 4 is still my favorite. Like I still like the characters. I mean, for these games, like the characters matter a lot to me, and I think the characters in 4 really grab me. So it's just something about 4 that's kind of always on my mind. I guess even the soundtrack of 4, like I really like that. But I can't fault anyone for liking 5 better. I think it is the better game. It's so much more polished and it's just stylish. Like they focused on just making it so striking, as a visual and aesthetic experience. It's unlike P3P and P4G, where like they're not much to write home about. Like they have good bones, and I think they have good things underneath, but when what you're seeing, what's on the surface is not all that eye catching. But Persona 5 like flipped the script there, and they made this game that like it's got like this anime level of like polish and just attraction. It's kind of just in your face. Very hard to resist. I should say resist.
Did you buy the 2-pack already for Switch? Like 3
I
and 4
didn't.
together?
No, because we like I said we.
You got the code for 3.
Yeah, I got the code for 3. We had an
Right.
option. Like they contacted us in December. Like, okay, we've got codes for both. So which one do you want to do? And I'm like, okay, so I'll go with Persona 3, and then Joe did Persona 4. But yeah, so I was thinking long and hard about just buying the double pack pre-ordering, but I figured we're going to get review codes. Atlas is pretty good about that. So. Just to end up going that route. And I'll buy, I'll probably wait for a sale and just grab Persona 4 on sale and then play it at that point. So,
do they have a physical cop? They don't have a physical.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. Gosh, you know what I want? Speaking of physicals, and I know it's totally a tangent. I really want to get that Pixel Remaster physical. It's so elusive, I know, but man, I would die to get one.
Well, I've already pre-ordered.
So yeah. I just need to go to Australia, I guess. That's the only way I'm going to get one. So
Australia? That's not where I got it from.
Where did you get one?
Japan.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I think you have to go directly through the Square Enix store.
Right, yeah.
So
That's a shame, right?
You pay for the game and then another $50 for shipping.
That's the thing. The shipping kills you.
I've ordered it from, they're out of stock too, because it was like, I swear, like with this Japanese Square Enix store, there's a lot of Japanese like export stores that have their stuff for a while.
Yeah. Almost like they get first dibs on it or something like that, or they're ready to go as soon as the pre-orders open up.
Yeah. Now that you guys have both played Persona 3 and Persona 4, I'm expecting you to talk about Persona 4 Arena Ultimax and Persona Q.
Persona Q is like we've talked about that game, or I mean, we've talked about talking about it. We want. I think we want to do an episode on that. I got Persona Q 2 as well.
Persona Q is characters from 3 and 4, and Persona Q2 is characters from 3, 4, and 5. But also adds Femcy, female main character from Persona 3 Portable in it.
I would like to do Q2 at some point this year. Q1
Just
I
in
found
time for the Etrian Odyssey game ports.
Oh god, yeah. I haven't even talked about direct stuff with you guys, but yeah, we are definitely playing an Etrian Odyssey game this year for sure. If we can do, David, did we ever record an episode on one of those? I know we planned to on one of the Untold games, right?
Do you guys own any?
I've got Untold 1 and 2.
Okay, I've got those ones.
Untold 2 is the one that you and I started playing, I don't know if we did an episode or not.
No, I don't know if we did either, and I think I put like 20 hours into it too. Like those games are so long.
You need to make a spreadsheet of games that we've talked about on the podcast, so then you don't get confused.
Yeah, so they make a separate page of games we've talked about wanting to be on the podcast and haven't been on yet.
You have have you done impressions of it? Have you done an entire episode on it? Sometimes we can talk about a game someone else has talked about if it's been long enough.
I mean, what we could do, like when those games are coming out, we could just do like an Etrian Odyssey themed episode and just talk about whatever game we want to talk about. Like I want to play 3 for sure because I already have that experience with 1 and 2, so I want to check out 3. I've played some of the newer games though. Like I've played 5, I played Nexus.
I'll play Etrian Mystery Dungeon.
I still have 5 in my shrink wrap.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, hang on to that. That could be worth something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's funny. I was actually looking at like 3DS. I'm pretty well versed in the 3DS RPGs because I have like all the Pokemons, Bravely Default, Etrian Odyssey 5 still in the shrink wrap, SMT4. I couldn't believe how many 3DS games I have.
At the moment, though, I think we've got enough new releases that we won't have to find an older game for a while.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Gotta wait for. Well, you gotta wait for that summertime period, right? June, July-ish, when there's usually not too many RPGs other than FF16, right?
Final Fantasy 16 and Trails into Reverie.
Yeah, except for 2 huge games.
Yeah, only 200 or 300 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, why do they do it to us every year?
I need a hyperbolic time chamber to play my video games in. And don't get started if you play multiplayer games. I had a couple of weeks before my baby was born to play like a Dragon Ball game that came out, and I didn't really. And now it's like there's a second season of stuff, and I'm like, oh, I really want to play that.
You know what we really need? We need the dark hour. If we had the dark hour, where we could just play games and time would just stop at midnight, that would be perfect.
Yeah. quantum realm where
Yes.
time is like 1/10
That's right.
of what it is here.
Are you gonna go see
That'd be
Ant-Man?
nice. I'm not gonna see it in theater, but I'll probably watch it when it comes to Disney Plus.
Yeah. I do kind of want to see it in theaters because we haven't seen a movie. We used to see movies in theaters all the time, but it's been a while and want to get back to it. But yeah, I think the last one I saw was Top Gun Maverick, which is awesome. Like that was a great film, but definitely a theater type movie. But
Did you see
It
Bullet
ain't
Train?
cheap. I've seen Bullet Train. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
I do want to watch that. I think it's on.
I bought the
it's on
book
some
to
streaming
read
service.
because it's quite different, I've heard.
I heard that too.
I
Yeah.
think they like made a bunch of characters, you know, like I think most of the characters in the actual book are Japanese. So I think they changed it a bit.
Well, Jordan, I think
I guess this is where we wrap up, right? We start unless we want to talk about the movies in Persona 3 Portable, right?
Did you go to the cinema?
Did we go to the cinema? Did you go take someone on a date there? I went a couple times, but I think that'll do us for episode 200. Thanks everybody for listening and sticking with us through a couple hundred episodes. It's pretty cool. Wherever you dropped in, there's content in the back catalog to check out if you joined us later. Happy to have so many people along for the ride. 5 years, hopefully we can keep it going 5, 10, 15 more. That'd be awesome. More console launches, hopefully no more pandemics, but the other stuff's all good.
We haven't gone off track actually because Persona Q2 is called New Cinema Labyrinth, so it all.
Oh gosh, excellent! Thank you, Paige. You salvaged the last 5 minutes of the podcast for us once again. So good job by you. If you haven't already, we'd love a review on your podcast app. Give us 5 stars or give us 1 star if you feel. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what we can improve, or what kind of games we can talk about on the show. But podcast reviews are definitely awesome for us. We're on Spotify. I think you can leave a review there as well. We will be back again soon with probably, gosh, what could we talk about? I mean, Octopath 2 is coming out soon. You guys already talked about the demos there.
So we probably have not sure what the next one will be about. There are some things coming out next week. So in a couple of weeks we can talk about.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so definitely some new games to come. So stay tuned for discussions on those. But for now, we'll sign off here. Hope everyone has a great week and weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye for now.
Bye.